Hello and welcome to Author Aspirations, where this time around I have two guests, not one. I've got in the room with me Lamide and Oyinda, and they have both produced a beautiful book. I call them the Lockdown Writers. So, how dare we ask what you got up to during lockdown? How dare we ask you? We can see what you got up to. Who's ready to
Yep.
start telling us?
Oyinda?
Okay, so I guess I'll go. So as our lovely host Sade just said, I'm Oyinda, and my sister Olamide and I co-authored our first children's book called Ebon the Exotic Elephant. And so we had been thinking about doing a project for the diasporan Africans because we felt like there weren't that many resources there weren't that many diverse resources that our kids were being exposed to. And then in the process, we decided that our first project would be a book. And then we came up with our brand name, which is Landay's African Tales. And yeah, so I was stuck in London for about 8 months because I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and my sister's based in London. So we had 7 months of basically being together, and it gave us time to sort of flesh out our ideas on what we wanted to do for Landay's African Tales. And the book was born. Lamide, did you want to add anything to that?
I think you said it all, really. I think it was the lockdown period was just the perfect time for us to kind of actually hone down and do what we had been talking about doing for several years. But being both of us being mums, we've been obviously just really busy with life. And it was just the first time we've been together in a very, very long time. And so we just, I guess we can talk more about it when Sade asks us questions, but essentially that's how Ebo, the exotic elephant came to life. So yes.
I think the first thing that I noticed was the title. I like the title. I like the, I like the army, what we call the army, the intonations there, which actually straight away tells us that you've got to pronounce it in a particular way. So what's the pronunciation? How would you pronounce that?
So we say Ebu. So you can see the E has a accent at the bottom. So that's an E. So you say Ebu. And on the top, in Yoruba language, this sign is basically do, Ebu. So it's Ebu, the exotic elephant. But I think in terms of, you're right to point out the armies, because one of the main key drivers was, personally, I have a big passion for, promoting the Yoruba language. And living in the UK, living in London, I speak Yoruba to my children, and I just find that it's, quite difficult to introduce the Yoruba culture to them. So it's a kind of way to just help them to kind of embrace it more and to be comfortable with who they are. So that was sort of one of the angles when we're talking about what do we want to do? How can we incorporate the African culture into our story?
Yeah,
I think it's a very clever way to go about opening up the conversation about how you pronounce your name. It just makes it's the letter E, but it comes in different forms. So I think that was really clever. And I like the alliteration within the title. So well done. I mean, not cover is exotic indeed. I mean, we've got so much to talk about, so I'll take it in bits. Okay, so you said that this is something you've been thinking about for years. So are you both naturally creative people? Did you, what are your backgrounds? And, tell me about yourselves individually, and I'll ask Oyinda this question. So, what is your background? Are you in the creative industry? Tell me.
It's funny you asked because I describe myself as a creative entrepreneur. So, I mean, growing up, I've always been the artistic one in the house. So I used to paint, I used to draw, I did lots of writing, lots of reading. And so, I mean, when you look at the two of us, I think we complement each other really well because I'm more of the creative one and she's more of she sort of structures and understands what we want in terms of the cultural aspects. So I was really happy that she was the one that explained the names to you because she's the one who knows the core Yoruba. When I'm trying to say something in Yoruba, I send her a message and I'm like, okay, how do you say this in? So she understands like the Ijile proper Yoruba and all the Amis and stuff. So, I mean, I think we complement each other well in that respect. So yes, I'm a creative. When I'm not writing or reading, I have a specialty bookstore in Lagos, Nigeria. So I focus on books from Nigerian authors and then specifically Islamic books for children. And then I also run an event design business. So I like to design, to beautify spaces. And yeah, so I mean, this isn't the first business that my sister and I would sort of partner on. We've done so many things in the past. We used to co-own a photo booth company with a third person back in 2011, which we ran for a couple of years. So I guess because our parents are both entrepreneurs, I think I caught the entrepreneurship bug from them and we sort of just develop everything together as we go along. So yeah, that's my background.
Yeah.
And your background?
Yes, so she's all around creative entrepreneur. So I'm actually a chartered accountant. So my day-to-day, I'm financial controller. So I'm more into the finance side of things, but I'm very passionate about culture. I'm passionate about, instilling our culture in our children. I'm all about finance. So very, very into that. I'm very into organizing and just trying to see how we can improve ourselves and work, with our children. I'm just so yeah, not as grounded as my sister.
You are grounded.
Sorry.
You are grounded, just in a different way.
Not in there. Yeah. So
honestly,
that's me.
I've got to congratulate the both of you because guess what? Being creative does not necessarily mean that you're business minded. And being business minded does not necessarily mean that you are creative. So for you to bring that package together and being sisters, it running in the family, it ain't going nowhere. I think you've got something good going on here, girls.
Thank you.
You've got something really good going on. So tell me, so I love the fact that you and I think most people that I've interviewed would always relate their whys back to either their children or their family, their heritage, wanting to sustain a memory. So with regards to your children, what was their reaction when they saw Ebon, the exotic elephant?
Yes, so I think it's I'll give it a little bit more background than just when they saw it, because actually my daughter, who is 7, and she reminds me constantly now that her name is also Ebolu. She says we named the book after her. She basically kind of went through the process of writing and sort of all the illustrations right from the beginning, because she's a little bit older. She kind of understood what was going on. So she's been very excited. And she, when we finally got a copy of it, she was just like, oh, Mommy and Auntie's book has arrived. This is our book. Mommy, I wrote this book too, did I? So
I remember Bosun was like, Mommy, that's me. Remember when Bosun saw
exactly, yeah. So that's my son. My son's called Bosun. He was like, this is me.
Wow.
This is me.
Wow.
So I mean, there's nothing that's more fulfilling. And I mean, the first time, even whilst we were expecting the book to arrive, after we had the samples delivered, Ayomide, basically one of the teachers at her school, at school pickup, came up to me and said, Ayomide's mom, are you an author? And because we hadn't officially kind of published, it was literally like the first time somebody was calling me an author. And I was like, oh, yeah, because they said, Ayomide said, my mom wrote a book about, you know, a diverse book that you can get it. So, yeah, so she's been like really like trying to tell everyone about it and get everyone to buy it. So, I mean, they're both, Ayomide and Bosso, they're both really excited. But Oyinda can tell you about my nephew as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. And how old?
So
is
my
your...
kids are much younger. So
okay.
I have a 1-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. So they weren't involved, obviously, in the process because they couldn't really comprehend. I mean, Ryan was 2 when we started writing, but as my sister said, when we wrote our first draft, I remember we read it to to her daughter, and she was like, "Oh, mommy, I don't know." I think it was too long, so she actually really helped.
Yeah.
She was like, easier reader, so we had to cut off a lot before we even sent it to our first editor and our second editor. But it's amazing to see how kids really help you, because when you're writing as an adult, you sort of forget the market you're writing for. So it's important to have that input from a child's perspective, because they see the things that we don't realize. And I'm really glad she said that, because even reading the book now, honestly, I think if it was any longer, then I could see how a child could easily lose interest.
Absolutely.
So she really helped in sort of narrowing it down and just making it the right length to sustain a child's interest and keep them engaged, because you don't want them to lose interest at the end of the day. So her daughter was involved in the writing process, as she mentioned earlier. But what's happened now is that now that my son is older, when he follows me to my store, he literally drags customers from, come on, buy mommy's book.
Wow.
And I've had a lady who was like, my kids are too old, but because your son said, come and buy mommy's book, she actually bought a copy.
Wow.
It just brings us joy knowing that we're able to write something that our kids love and their friends also like, and it's making a positive impact in different people's lives. So yeah.
I'm loving this story. Yes.
Sorry, Sade, can I just add also that even though, so when we were writing the book, Oyinda had just had her baby, and, you know, so many of the things that we did, you know, she wanted to be close to her. So she would have her daughter Farah on her back, and, you know, she would carry her whilst we're trying to like figure out what to do, because she wouldn't let anyone else take her. So even watching that, and, you know, for my daughter, Ayomide, and for Bosso, especially Ayomide, actually seeing that kind of work, people that look like you, who want to work hard, who want to do the best they can, and just, you know, Oyinda could have easily said, oh, I can't do this because I just had a baby. But rather than coming up with excuses, let's find a solution. Let's find a way that we can manage ourselves. You know, if she has to carry her for, you know, for a few minutes or however long, and then she takes a break and then we carry on. Yes, it took longer for us to get to where we are now, but the message was that we actually got there in the end. And I think that's one of the things that as a parent, we try and instill in our children. And it's just nice that she was able to see all that, all the process of that coming to life and eventually coming into this book. So I think she would probably say the same, but who knows?
And considering, I think what you've taken for granted is the fact that you pulled this off within 7 months. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing. So when you say hard work, I can imagine how much hard work. Were you aware of how much time that you had together? So did you have a focus in, you know, we've got to get this done because this is the window that we've got to work on this. Did you have that, or did it just so happen that, you know, it took 7 months?
I think for the writing, we wanted to make sure that we had that down, at least to have a really good first draft to send up to the editors whilst we were still together, because it's just easier having these conversations in person, especially because we stay in different parts of the world. So yeah, definitely getting the writing done whilst we were together was key for us. But then a lot of the illustration was actually done away from each other. So the illustration started, I think we found the illustrator and the sample whilst I was still in London, but we didn't actually start the illustrations until when I was in Nigeria and she was still back in London. So a lot of it was done via emails and going back and forth between the two of us and the illustrator. And and just trying to manage our time. And lucky for us, UK and Nigeria were on the same time zone because they were so it wasn't too bad. But it still had to, I mean, we still had to manage being back at work, being out of lockdown, different schedules. And yeah, so we made it work because it's something we're passionate about. So we just really wanted to put something really good out there.
Yeah.
I love questions. Sorry, carry on.
No, I didn't hear you, sorry.
I was going to go into something else, but say what you wanted to say. You go ahead.
I was just also going to add that the passion, I think one thing we didn't mention at the start is that, you know, for me, it's even more personal because with, you know, the kids being here, being, you know, of ethnic minority, you know, they go to schools where, you know, they're few and far between people that look like them. So it's very important for us to kind of put out a book like this, that it's something that, you know, kids will want to pick up and enjoy reading. But the fact that they just see, you know, people from somewhere else that looks different to them and similar to our children just makes a difference. And I always say it's not just about Black children seeing Black characters leading in books. It's about non-Black children. It's about white children, especially seeing that this is normal. This is fantastic. This is amazing. There's nothing, it's just special. So I think for me, it's even more important to appeal to, you know, non-Black children, for them to be able to see other Black children leading in books, being positive, doing, you know, positive things. And and what triggered that for me was actually when my daughter was 4, she was in nursery and one of her friends, well, she thought was a friend, said to her, "I don't want to play with you because of the color of your skin." And, you know, as a parent, that literally broke my heart. And it was just like, where does a child even learn that from? I mean, so I think that's kind of something important to kind of highlight in terms of where we're drawing our passion from.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, I think sometimes when you go into, so as an author, when I go into schools where, you know, where there's a lot of diversity or some level of diversity, that's fine. You know, we know where we are. We feel comfortable. The children feel comfortable, whether they're Black or white. But those rare moments that I remember are when I've gone into schools where there's probably, and I'll bring to recall a particular school where there was just one mixed race child in the entire school. And I'd gone there as a supply teacher to start off with. And then when it got to Black History Month, I said, look, you know, are you happy to invite me in? And they said, yes, do come, bring your books. I went in and we had a whole day. I went in with an organization called Culture Tree, and we had a whole day of activities with the children. It was amazing. We dressed them up. We we did so much. We talked about food. We talked about geography. We talked about the entire, curriculum within one day. And we worked from the nursery school all the way up to year 6. At the end of that day, this one child started getting lots of high fives from his friends. And it was almost like they were saying, we get you now. We understand you. Now we get you. There was a level, it was almost as if the bar had been raised for this child, because suddenly someone had told them about this child's identity. So can you imagine that rippling towards all schools? And at the end of the day, like you rightly say, it's empowering for all children to know about all children. So we're on a good journey, and this is one of the reasons why I thought of doing author aspirations. Exactly the reason, because the more we keep talking about having very few diversity books, the more we're actually saying to ourselves, we're not doing anything. And I have made a resolution to make sure that people know that there are lots of Black authors out there. They may have had to go down the self-publishing route because, of course, the big publishers will pause a bit, because for certain reasons. One of them being the fact that it's not economically viable. Very few people read books, very few people buy, very few Black people read books, very few white people buy Black children's books. And so in terms of the economics, it's not viable. So until this situation shifts, what do? Do we continue to fold our arms?
No.
We can't.
Continue.
We have to, and so it's almost like a situation in which, if the government's not going to do it, the private sector had better do it. I think that's the situation with the publishing industry. So I've taken it upon myself to showcase as many children's book authors as possible, just so that people are aware that representation matters, and we do have diverse books, contrary to the statistics. Contrary to the statistics. So that's my journey.
Yes, and thank you. Honestly, it's such an important process, and we're all in this together. If we're going to, I guess the more books we have, the more we can show even these publishers that there is a demand for it, and where it's lacking, people should. We should actually focus more on those areas where it's lacking.
Yeah, very true. And the other challenge is that our people need to start getting involved with our books. They need to start getting involved with our books. It's a catch-22. So if they're not buying books, then we can invest a lot of money in creating self-published books, and a time would come where we would have spent so much money, and there's a limit to how much you can do, really. So yes,
that you say that because I had a conversation with a Desola of Kids Literary Circle about how even in Nigeria, for some reason, parents would rather buy books written by non-Nigerian authors than buy books that are more representative, because I don't know, even when they're more expensive. So if you go to the irregular bookstore here, you'll find that the books by Nigerian authors are like 500 naira, 1,000, 1,500, and the ones by foreign authors are more like 3,500, 4,000. But people would still buy those ones over the Nigerian authors. And you just wonder why. Because when she holds her book clubs, you see the children actually really like it when they read the Nigerian authors, because they can always relate to the stories more. So I think we as parents also, the onus is on us to sort of make more of an effort, and not just, we all say representation matters, but do we actually make an effort to get our children books and our children's bookshelves? Do we fill them up with books that are actually representative of them? Are we walking the walk as we're talking the talk? So that's also something that we need to think about as well, and just check ourselves.
And I think to add to that, it's also, yeah, I agree. It's representation is also as parents trying to diversify the kids' libraries, but it's also extending it. You can, when they ask you to bring books to schools, you can take, books by, Nigerian author, or, a Black author, whatever it is that you feel comfortable. Take it to the schools. They want to learn more about it as well. If you have a very good school, very good head teachers, some of the ones that we've approached, they've been very excited about the fact that, we've got this book. So they're not shying away from it. And the more some of these schools pick it up, take it to the kids' nursery, send them in those books, dress them up in the characters, and make it fun for the kids themselves. It doesn't have to be something so heavy that they're thinking about. It can just be a fun story. It can just be, I just want to dress up to look like an elephant or an African type elephant or something. I think even little things like that really just does help and make a difference. So
do you agree with me that we're on a good journey here?
Totally, yes.
Absolutely.
Let's do this. Is there's I think you would be able to help me with this, Lamide. There's a Yoruba saying taba dake something, when we're quiet,
Yes, I know Islamically.
we're quiet about ourselves, and the world will be quiet with us.
Oh, taba dake oro wa ayoni borosi or something like that. I can't remember.
Something like that.
See?
Yes.
See?
I think maybe tabadake, like that. Tabadake means if we are quiet.
Quiet, yes.
If we are quiet, then the world will just watch us. And okay, just 2% of children are represented as being characters. Oh, okay, maybe next year there'll be 3%. 2 years time, 4%.
It's really it's such. I mean, I remember Oyinda, when I showed you a book, my daughter, there's this book, there's a ballerina on a horsey or something, and she absolutely loves it. One day I just opened it. She had colored in the lead character, the girl. She colored her in brown. And I didn't know I had no idea when she did that. And I was really like, oh my goodness. She literally wanted it to look like
Black ballerina, yeah.
Yeah. And we still have it somewhere. And it's just phenomenal because she's literally done this out of her own, initiative. And
It's been absolutely amazing having the both of you. And what I'm going to ask for next is for a bit of a read from both of you, from both of your favorite pages.
Lamide, you go first.
Oh God, I go first.
Okay, get ready.
So one of my favorite pages is right at the Ayo Festival. So I'll just read it and I'll tell you why. She danced, she twirled, swayed and staggered around the stage, attempting to imitate the masquerades and their unique dancing style. At that moment, Ebu couldn't think of anywhere else she would rather be. It was the most fun she had ever had. The festival soon ended and Ebu couldn't wait to tell her mom all about her day. That's it. So I love this. I don't know if you can see. I love this page because the illustrations are just gorgeous, but I also just love to dance. And so do both my kids. So when we get to this page, we start kind of imagining drumming. So we actually have a rhythm. We say and we start kind of moving. So it's my favorite and it's also my kids' favorite. So yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, let's get
my favorite page now. Well, that was also my favorite page. So I'll read my second favorite page. So this one is at the beginning, and it goes, they soon came across Mofe the monkey and his friends. Look, Mofe yelled, it's a teeny weeny pinky elephant. Hey, that's not nice, said Lande. It's okay, Lande. Actually, I'd like to go back home now, said Ebon. Come on, Ebon, Lande said. Don't let those mean monkeys get to you. Remember what your mother always says, you may be pink, you may be tiny, but you're perfect just the way you are, he continued. Okay, said Ebon. I guess it would be nice to finally see the dancers I've heard so much about. Exactly. I have a feeling this year's festival will be extra special, added Lande. So you can see the illustrations there. And I also picked this page because, as I mentioned earlier, my son is only 3, so he's at that age where he's learning maths and quantification, so he likes to count. So anytime we get here, he's like, Mommy, I want to count the monkeys, and then I want to name all the animals I can see. So he always notices the snake and then the elephant. And so, yeah, it's just something that for the younger children who are not yet reading or may not necessarily really understand the story yet, there's still things that they can do, like spotting animals and counting the number of animals or the fruits in the market. In fact, since we started reading the book, every time I'm taking my son Ryan to school, because he learns the Nigerian flag from the page. So I just noticed that he would be driving and he would go, Mommy, look, the giraffe flag. But it sounded like giraffe to me, and I kept repeating, I don't see any giraffes, but he would do it going home, coming back, going home. He did it for like 2 weeks. And then just 2 days ago, we were stuck in traffic in front of a Toyota showroom. And he kept saying, Mommy, look. And I was like, there's no giraffe. He's like, no, Mommy, look. And then I realized it was Nigerian flag he was saying, but it sounded like giraffe flag. Mommy, look, Nigerian flag. So, you know, those car showrooms, they typically have the Nigerian flag and another country flag and company flags in their showrooms. So he picked that up from the book, and anytime he spotted one while we were driving, he was always saying it. And I didn't even realize that that was what he was saying.
Amazing.
Because his speech isn't so clear yet. And I just kept thinking, where is this boy seeing a giraffe? But all the while he was saying Nigerian flag. So yes, that's my favorite page in the book.
That is so amazing, so amazing. Would you like to know what my favorite page is?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
You're going to pay me for this. I love the Ayo Festival page. I absolutely love that page. I absolutely love that page. It takes me down memory lane because I remember growing up as a child and living in Lagos. And my dad used to work in Lagos. His office was actually one of the roads that the Ayo Festival would drive through. And we would purposely go to work with him and watch the Ayo Festival from his office. And the colors, and you know, we love to see the different hats, the different colors, because every hat stood for something special, didn't it? And him being a Lagosian was, you know, for him, it was only natural that he would want us to be aware of the festival. And so, you know, I just it feels like an extra bonus because there's nothing within the cover that tells us that there's something special, something cultural within the book. So I just love that extra special, you know, aspect of culture that gets thrown into the story. You know, sorry, I missed that.
I said it's like the icing on the cake, the big surprise at the end.
Icing on the cake is absolutely gorgeous. I wish you both a successful, beautiful, smooth journey. And I'm sure that schools will be calling on you. Schools will be calling on you. You know, it's
so.
It's a beautiful book. So well done, and I hope there's
Thank
more to
you.
come. I can tell there's more to come.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
going to keep my eyes out on you. So well done and congratulations. And thank you for coming on Author Aspirations.
Thank you for having us.
For having us, and thank you for everything that you're doing as well for the literary industry, especially in the diaspora, for Nigerian authors and indie authors, and just trying to push our culture and diversity in our books.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Very
Thank you very
important.
much.
Thank you. I thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Right. Well, that was also my favorite page. So I'll read my second favorite page. So this one is at the beginning, and it goes, they soon came across Mofe the monkey and his friends. Look, Mofe yelled, it's a teeny weeny pinky elephant. Hey, that's not nice, said Lande. It's okay, Lande. Actually, I'd like to go back home now, said Ebon. Come on, Ebon, Lande said. Don't let those mean monkeys get to you. Remember what your mother always says, you may be pink, you may be tiny, but you're perfect just the way you are, he continued. Okay, said Ebon. I guess it would be nice to finally see the dancers I've heard so much about. Exactly. I have a feeling this year's festival will be extra special, added Lande. So you can see the illustrations there. And I also picked this page because, as I mentioned earlier, my son is only 3, so he's at that age where he's learning maths and quantification, so he likes to count. So anytime we get here, he's like, Mommy, I want to count the monkeys, and then I want to name all the animals I can see. So he always notices the snake and then the elephant. And so, yeah, it's just something that for the younger children who are not yet reading or may not necessarily really understand the story yet, there's still things that they can. In fact, since we started reading the book, every time I'm taking my son Ryan to school, because he learns the Nigerian flag from the page. So I just noticed that he would be driving and he would go, Mommy, look, the giraffe flag. But it sounded like giraffe to me. And I kept repeating, I don't see any giraffes, but he would do it going home, coming back, going home. He did it for like 2 weeks. And then just 2 days ago, we were stuck in traffic in front of a Toyota showroom. And he kept saying, Mommy, look. And I was like, there's no giraffe. He's like, no, Mommy, look. And then I realized it was Nigerian flag he was saying, but it sounded like giraffe flag. Mommy, look, Nigerian flag. So you know those car showrooms, they typically have the Nigerian flag and another country flag and company flags in their showrooms. So he picked that up from the book, and anytime he spotted one while we were driving, he was always saying it. And I didn't even realize that was what he was saying.
Amazing.
Because speech isn't so clear yet. And I just kept thinking, where is this boy seeing a giraffe? But all the while he was saying Nigerian flag. So yes, that's my favorite page in the book.
That is so amazing, so amazing. Would you like to know what my favorite page is?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
You're going to pay me for this. I love the Air Festival page. I absolutely love that page. I absolutely love that page. It takes me down memory lane because I remember growing up as a child and living in Lagos. And my dad used to work in Lagos. His office was actually one of the roads that the Air Festival would drive through. And we would purposely go to work with him and watch the Air Festival from his office. And the colors, and we love to see the different hats, the different colors, because every hat stood for something special, didn't it? And him being a Lagosian was, for him, it was only natural that he would want us to be aware of the festival. And so, you know, I just it feels like an extra bonus because there's nothing within the cover that tells us that there's something special, something cultural within the book. So I just love that extra special, you know, aspect
Icing on the
culture
cake.
that gets thrown
Right.
into the story, you know. So, sorry, I missed that.
I said it's like the icing on the cake, the big surprise at the end.
Icing on the cake is absolutely gorgeous. I wish you both a successful, beautiful, smooth journey. And I'm sure that schools will be calling on you. Schools will be calling on you. You know,
We hope so.
it's a beautiful book. So well done. And I hope there's
Thank
more to
you.
come. I can tell there's more to come.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
going to keep my eyes out on you. So well done and congratulations. And thank you for coming on Author Aspirations.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you
us.
for having us, and thank you for everything that you're doing as well for the literary industry, especially in the diaspora, for Nigerian authors and indie authors, and just trying to push our culture and diversity in our books.
Yes, yes. Thank
Very,
you. Thank you.
very
Thank you very
important.
much.
Thank you. I thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right.